Hello Internet folk, and hello to fans of the basic programming language. I wanted to do a video, might be a long one, a tour of the first couple of menu items in Basic Anywhere Machine. The, uh, the kind of stuff that you need to know so you can start writing programs and not lose those programs, know how to save them. Uh, I'll put a link to the online version of the Basic Anywhere Machine in the description below the video, so you can get to this later. But once you are on the web and you're looking at the hosted version of Basic Anywhere Machine, you can start coding programs, right there. But seeing as Basic Anywhere Machine is hosted on a static website, if you type in any programs in here, it's going to be a one-shot deal. You're typing in a program to run it. You might export it to save it, but you've got, no way to save it in a traditional way, your program. And the whole notion of writing a program, exporting it so that way you can copy and paste it back into the online version of Basic Anywhere Machine later, that gets a little kludgy. So the first things we're going to do is, once you're online, is you want to get a copy of Basic Anywhere Machine downloaded to your favorite spot, whether it be USB thumb drive or your hard drive on your device, or maybe even some kind of online file hosting service, if you have one. So what we need to do is this is a save button, and then when we hover over it says save changes. This is a bit like a save as option you would have in, let's say, a word processor or something like that. So when you click on it, it asks you where do you want to save this thing and what file name do you want to give it. It works like a save as. It's actually a download button. The same as if you were to download any web page you would find on the web. So when we click on that, it brings up your save as dialog. It says, where do you want to put this? And I'm just going to replace what I saved previously. Pick a folder somewhere, or on, like I said, on an SD card, or a USB thumb drive, or any other kind of storage device that's convenient to you. And we're going to save that. And yeah. Let's save it. Let's replace what we've got. And let's go take a peek at our folder. And there it is. And once you've got it downloaded to your storage device, you can now use it, edit what's inside of there. You could even change anything about Basic Anywhere Machine. But you can write your programs, test them, whatever. And when you're ready, you save everything back to this file. Unlike traditional software where you've got software in some executable somewhere, you run it and you enter data into it and you save the data that you've put into this application, save it to a file somewhere. Now you've got your software in one spot, your data in another spot. Basic Anywhere Machine is one HTML file and everything is in it. It's like a closed ecosystem. You've got your IDE and all of the tools of Basic Anywhere Machine, so essentially the software. You've got all of the JavaScript behind Basic Anywhere Machine that will take your basic programs that you type in and are stored in this one file. Take those basic programs, convert them to JavaScript so they can run in your web browser. It's all in there. Now let's open this up. So now we've got our local version of this. And since we got a local version of this, we don't need to look at the hosted version anymore. And let's open this up by double clicking on it. And there it is, ready for you to go. Now, once you've got your own copy of Basic Anywhere Machine, you'll find that it's loaded with all kinds of test programs and interesting programs that I've put in there. You may not want them, so you may want to make Basic Anywhere Machine your own. I'm not going to do a full tour of the tools menu, but I will show you the Power Wash feature. And the whole purpose of Power Wash is to take Basic Anywhere Machine and strip out anything that I've put in there. So that way you've got Basic Indoor Machine in a pristine state. So it lets you know that it's going to get rid of all these programs. If for any reason there's any of those programs you want to keep, you can always go back to the online version of Basic Indoor Machine and get some of those programs and copy them over to your personal instance that you've downloaded. But let's go ahead and let's do a power wash. And this also gives us an opportunity for you to put in your name or your nickname or pseudonym, whatever you want. So that way, all of the programs you enter Basic Indoor Machine are signed with your name. So let's do that too. And that's done. And there it is. So now it says, hey, look, BAM user Chuck. If it's not you, then you want to go back to the tools menu and change the BAM, Basic Indoor Machine user. All right, so here we are with pristine Basic Indoor Machine. Now you notice the save button is blinking over here, letting us know, hey, you've made some changes in here. You know, you might want to save them. Don't forget to save them. So for what it's worth, let's save that right now. And what we're doing is we're replacing the entire Basic Indoor Machine file, the IDE file, with everything that is Basic Indoor Machine now in your browser window. It's not in the same state as it was before. It's in a brand new state, a totally different state. And that's what we're going to save. And let's replace it. And if we get out of there and go back to our folder and open it up again, and here it is. It's now Basic Indoor Machine as you've set it up. Now, when you start off in a pristine state, it provides you the new basic program and this is your template for all new programs you create in here. Anytime you create a new program, it's going to take this program right here and copy it. So let's go File, New. And it'll copy that program, and you'll see it'll have a different number, and it's the exact same as the other one. This new program, you can alter it so that way as a template. For every new program you create, it'll use the one that you've set up as your template for all new programs that you want to create. So let's say you like to have a heading or something like that, some comments at the top of your program that you want every one of your programs to have. This you'd want to do that to the new basic program. And it's not this one right here. If we take a look, this is the template program right here. And when we did our power wash, it immediately created new.bas1 as a copy of this guy. While we're here, let's take a look at that again. File, New, and File, Open, sorry. And from here we can search for files. Let's say at some point you've got a lot of basic programs. This is where you would find them. So let's say that you were looking specifically for the Hertz program. If you were to type in Hertz and then apply that search criteria, it would go find just the ones that match and list those and hide all the other ones. We got some other features in here, like we can show the delete button. So this acts also as your file manager. And I say file manager. We'll talk a little bit more about that after. Because Basic Indoor Machine is only one file that is saved to your storage device. But then I've got a file menu. So we'll talk about that after. Not quite sure I've got the right words, but I wasn't quite sure what other words to use there. So maybe you can give me some ideas if you have any. But let's clean things up here. I decided to show the delete button. It gives us an opportunity to delete some of the programs that we don't want. And let's get rid of those, and let's take a look at new.bas. You'll see it's got the little BAM tag, little pill there. That lets you know that these are programs that you can't delete. They're part of the software. They're part of the Basic Indoor Machine. And let's take a look at this. And if you were to change this new.bas program, new.bas, this one right here is your template. And let's say we say, hello there, big blue world. And if you notice, it just went, it had PROD up here, and it switched it to dev. Every new program you create starts off as a production version of your application. And the moment you edit it, it becomes a development version of your program. And here it is. And if we want to try it out, we go to, this is the development version. So we want to go run the development version of the program. And there it is. And we see the results. Now, the fun thing is if we move this aside to another window for a second, we can compare our development version of this program to the previously saved production version, the last production version we had. And when we run it, we can see that we've got some versioning going on. So we've got the production version of the program and the development version of the program. We can compare the two to make sure we like the results. Once we're happy with the development version, then we can promote it to production to replace what we had before. Let's continue in the project menu while we're here. Not going to cover the first two menu items here, or sorry, the first two development version items here. Let's take a peek at the diff viewer. The diff viewer will show us the differences between the production version of our program and this development version that we've got, so we can check out the code, see where the differences are, scroll up and down if it's a long program to see all the changes. And once we're happy and we say, oh, okay, well, this is good, let's promote it. And now our development version, after a quick second, becomes our new production version. And if we take a look, the development menu items are disabled because development is the same program as the production. The development version and the production version are the same. So we don't have a development version anymore. We have a production version, and that's the only one we've got. But the moment that we make another change to it, let's just bring it back to where it was before. And now we'll see that, yeah, okay, we've got some differences. So production version or development version looks like this. We've removed some stuff. And if we decide, no, I'm not happy with that, I want to roll back so that way we don't have a development version anymore, and then you'll undo development, and our program gets back to just our production version with no changes to it. And this is a small scale versioning of software, mimicking a little bit what you'd find in a source code repository, but not particularly elaborate because we've only ever got two versions. We've got the production version of our program, and we've got a development version of our program when we've started editing the production one. Way at the top here, we've got runtime properties. And basic in our machine allows us to say, hey, look, for this program, I want it to auto start. So it just starts right away. And in some programs, if there's any keyboard input, so user interaction with the keyboard, or if the program is going to play any sounds, we want to turn this off. And we want to turn this off because a program running in a browser window will not accept keyboard input and will not play sounds until the program has, until that window has the focus. And just to show you what happens, let's turn off auto start and let's run this program. And you'll see that before the program actually runs, it asks us to please click the screen, right? To give this window the keyboard focus. So we click on it, and the program was so fast I didn't update the screen before it said it was done. But you know, there's the result. Anyway, enough of that. And in the runtime properties, we've got some other features in here as well. Image smoothing. Most of the times you'll probably want that on. What it does is it smooths out the edges of the pixels. Right? Otherwise, it's just looking blocky. But sometimes blocky is a feature we'd like if we want to create some kind of program that's got a retro feel to it. If we take off image smoothing, and I'm just going to keep this window open and move it off to the side and run the program. So I don't know if you can notice much of a difference here. But the text is a little blockier. It might help if we change our screen a little bit. And basically, War Machine has a screen command like you'd find in GW Basic and pretty much every basic out there. But we've also got new image, and this is just a little extra parameter that we can give to the screen statement. A new image, and let's reduce the size of this screen to, let's say 80 pixels by 80 pixels. Just 80 is not going to be enough. Let's widen that a bit more, 320 there. That should do the trick. And now let's run this program again, the development version, because we just changed it. Okay, now, what's kind of fun is we can, while we've got the program running, we can bring our properties over side by side to the program, side by side with the program, and alter the properties here and it will cause the program to rerun as we change them. So here's the program running with image smoothing turned off, and if we click that, now we get the program rerun with smoothing turned on. And I don't know if you can tell the difference, but it's the edges are smoother with the smoothing turned on. So let's turn that off again. And there we go. Now, we're going to get rid of that auto start message so that way we can see dynamically the differences going on here. And just in case you have a small screen, let's blow that up a little bit, and let's do that again so you can see less blocky and less blocky. And we can also alter the fonts. Now I've got some upcoming changes to this, but just for the giggles, we got two fonts going on. We've got what's called the WW Basic font, because the basic interpreter in Basic Anywhere Machine is WW Basic, which you'll find on GitHub. But if we change the font to the thin one, not crazy about the thin one, but I did it for the giggles. It looks a little bit better when there's no image smoothing, because then you can see what's going on a little bit better. But with smoothing, it takes the edges, softens the edges a little bit too much when we're using a thin font. And anyway, that doesn't matter too much. Sometime within the next week or two, I'll have a new version of Basic Anywhere Machine out with a whole bunch of other fonts in here that are pretty interesting. Program throttling. You know, if you were to take old basic programs like take Donkey, right, donkey.bas, it would be unplayable with Basic Anywhere Machine because the JavaScript behind Basic Anywhere Machine is way too fast. So this is a case where you might want to throttle a program a bit to pretend that you've got a slower CPU, so that the basic program doesn't run too fast. Alternatively, you could alter the basic program so that way you got some delays in there, so it becomes more playable. But if you just want to run an old basic program out of the box without changing it, you might want to do some program throttling. And then finally, we've got a little option there to change the color of. You notice that when we resize Basic Anywhere Machine, the console window when it's running, if the program is meant to run at a certain screen resolution, so a certain number of pixels wide, a certain number of pixels high, As we resize our browser window, the program resizes too, but stays in the right proportions. So it increases, decreases in size as you alter the size of the browser window. Now this just allows us to change the color for a program to something else, so that way there. So that way, we can customize our program to have colors that might be more suitable for whatever colors you're using inside your program. So there's a match. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go back to basic in our machine here, full screen. And so we covered the runtime properties. We've covered the run menu for the development version, or the run menu item for the development version of a program, the run menu item for the production version of a program. These two menus, view includes map and view preprocess code. A basic anywhere machine has a preprocessor. So that way you've got a program, but before that program gets fed to the JavaScript, to the interpreter, to the basic interpreter and converted to JavaScript, the program goes through the preprocessor and handles any kind of includes or other metaprogramming code, and converts that into basic code, and that's worthy of its own video some other time. So we're going to skip that. The export, I've got another video done on that already. What it does, it allows you to export either a development version of a program if you have it, or production version of a program. It allows you to export in various formats. So you can take your basic program, the development version, and just output it to an HTML file for sharing as documentation of the development version. Let's say you've got some people helping you with the development version of the program. This might be a way for you to just share the code so they can see it and comment on what they're seeing. It might be useful for documentation's sake, right? As you're documenting your work, and then same kind of thing, but for the production version of your program. So that's documentation related stuff. And then if you want to share the source code and share it in a way so that way, here's your program in BAM, you want to output it to a file, so that way you can give that file to somebody else who's got a BAM instance, and they can bring your program into their instance of basic in our machine. So it's a way to share programs from one BAM instance to another. And that will share development and production all in one file if you happen to have modified it and you want to give that program to somebody with both versions of it. And then you can export your development version of the basic of your BAM program to a text file, a BAS file, that you can give to somebody who might be running a more traditional version of basic in our machine. So, a traditional version of basic. So, let's say you want to create a program in BAM, you want to put that to a text file to give it to your friend who's running a free basic or QB64 Phoenix edition or whatever, right? And it's the same thing if you want to share the production version of a program. So you got those two. And then these are more interesting. This is if you want to deploy your program. So it's a bit akin to let's say you've got a basic implementation that allows you to compile the code to an executable. If you had such a basic, then you'd create a program, create an executable, and you'd give the executable to people for them to run. And then they don't have to have any software to run basic programs. They're running an executable. What this does is it allows you to take your basic program and output the basic program and the basic interpreter all into an HTML file. So that way that HTML file can be shared and people can run your program without having basic into a machine. So it's a way for you to share the running program. And you could share a development version if you got some people out there doing some testing for you. So you output your program to this little HTML file that has your program and the interpreter, and you plop it on the web somewhere, or you attach it to an email, and you invite people to run it and see if they can find any bugs as they're running your program. So that's what this kind of stuff is for. And then you've got the production version. So you've got a program, it's running great, you want to share it with the world, you just plop it into this HTML file with the export, and you put that HTML somewhere and you tell everybody, have at her, right? Here's your program, go have fun with it. And then finally, this is if you want to share your program in such a way that somebody who uses this software called TiddlyWiki, they can take their TiddlyWiki instance and just take this file and import it into their TiddlyWiki, and they've got your basic program and the stuff needed to run that basic program without having the IDE and all that other stuff, all the software development tools that are in BAM and all that business. Now, back to the file menu. I kind of did this backwards, but anyway, cart before the horse, doesn't matter. Let's go back to the file menu. So, at any time, click File New to create a new program. That creates a new program based on new.bas, and just says, okay, well, this is the first time you create a new program, new.bas, that I know of, because I'm not finding any other ones out there. And I'll take new.bs and just add a little number after that. If you already had a number 1 out there, new.bs 1, then it'll increment to 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. But if you're creating a program, you're not going to want to leave it as new.bas. So this is where you want to be able to. This is not save to your file system. This is save this program, which is stored inside of here, as something else. And so any program, when you go File Save As, you want to either save this program we're looking at with a different name, or you might say, this program, I want to create a copy of it with this name, right? So this serves two purposes. Now let's just rename new.bs to call it our sample hello world, and if we rename it, there it is. And let's say that we've got this program, but we'd like to create another version in some other language, and then we'll go File Save As. We're going to create a copy of this, and since French is my primary language, échantillon. Oh, jeez. French is my first language. I can't remember sample in French. Anyway, notre échantillon. Pour bonjour, petit monde. Doesn't have to be the exact same, does it? And create a copy. And once you click that, press that button OK, it creates the new program called Notre Échantillon pour Bonjour Petit Monde, and it contains a copy of the other program we were working on. And this is where we would, alter our program. Notice it's in production mode. It's in the production state, but the very moment we start editing it, it switches over to development after a little delay. And just like before, we've got all of these menu items available to compare, this program to the previous version, which was their Big Blue World. Now, properties. We've got runtime properties for any program, which affects the state of that program at runtime. But then we got some properties related. This is kind of metadata about your program. So it lets us know, okay, it was created, right, on this date by Chuck. Last modified by Chuck. If we wanted to, we could change that to Chucky, right? But we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it as Chuck because that's who the BAM user is. And an opportunity for us to add some descriptions in here. So you could put a comment list. You can put in anything you want. This is actually something that I use for the hosted version of Basic Anywhere Machine. So that way the help system for Basic Anywhere Machine, and I'll have to talk about that in some other video. So that way the the Basic Anywhere Machine documentation, which is a TiddlyWiki instance of its own, when you look up a keyword, a statement, or a function in that documentation, the documentation actually has the smarts to bring up a list of programs from the online version of Basic Anywhere Machine and shows those programs right there in the documentation. Very cool stuff. It gets my geek mojo going big time. But anyway, that's for some other day. And anyway, so here's a place where you can add some descriptions, and maybe at some point I can make this a little bit better and give you an opportunity to maybe add some tags to your programs or whatever. If you got any ideas, let me know in the comments below. And then exit. What does exit do? The exit menu takes us out of the Basic Anywhere Machine interface and brings us to the TiddlyWiki interface. So, if you know TiddlyWiki, you can go in here into your instance of Basic Anywhere Machine and you can customize this to the gills and do all kinds of neat stuff to it. It's a TiddlyWiki instance, right? You can add other plugins. You can change the look and feel of Basic Anywhere Machine to suit you. Fonts, you name it. It's all there for you. And if you want to make some changes to this, you'd want to go to the TiddlyWiki website and look up some documentation. Now, Basic Anywhere Machine uses an older version of TiddlyWiki. The newer versions of TiddlyWiki have added some things that complicates things for me too much. So I've stayed on an older version. And what I should do is set up a link in Basic Anywhere Machine sometime so you can get to the documentation for the TiddlyWiki version that Basic Anywhere Machine uses and not run into problems wondering why things documented in the latest version of TiddlyWiki are not working in Basic Anywhere Machine. But anyway, enough of that. Now, we've done all. Let's go back to the IDE. And we've made some changes. We need to save. So we've added some programs. We may have customized Basic Anywhere Machine and changed some settings in the tools menu. That's for some other day. But we want to make sure that we save everything back to here. Now, let's say that you're looking at that and you realize, well, I kind of like to keep this older version of the Basic Anywhere Machine as a backup for a whole bunch of programs, because don't forget, we've only got 2 versions of programs. Every program has only 2 versions, development and production. And you may decide, well, look, you've got a whole bunch of production versions of programs that you've changed and you'd like to keep a backup of it. So, you want to rename this to something else. Maybe BAMID new, right? And so you can maintain multiple instances of Basic Anywhere Machine with different versions of your programs if need be. Anyway, I think we should stop there for now, and eventually I'll have to come up with a video that gets into the tools menu and the help menu as well. The help menu is not so much of a big deal. You can explore that on your own. I recommend you explore the tools menu as well. Go in there, click on some stuff. In particular, if you want to click on some stuff but not break your own programs, I do recommend that you get back to my website, which I'll put in the links below in the video, and just open up the hosted version of Basic Internet Machine again, and go ahead and play in there. And then when you like what you're doing, just mimic whatever you've done there in your own instance or whatever. But yeah, the online version, that's a good place for you to play around with this stuff and see what happens. You cannot hurt the online version. You can't save it. You can't overwrite it. So go ahead and have fun with it. Anyway, y'all take care. I'll be doing a video, I hope, within the next couple of weeks that shows how you can play around with fonts. Some new fonts I'm setting up for Basic Internet Machine. Cheers.